and welcome to the States of Matter, a podcast from the Institute of Refrigeration's Women in our ACHP network. Something a little different this episode as we join up with the Institute of Refrigeration's Tip of the Iceberg podcast. CEO Miriam Rodway interviews Kira, a student on work experience at the IOR. Ask him about what she and her friends think of engineering as a career choice and her time spent at the IOR these last few weeks.
Today, we are joined by a young lady who's been doing some work experience with the Institute of Refrigeration. She's 14 years old and she's currently studying at year 10. She has a lot of interest in things like maths and technology. And we invited her to come along to do some work experience to find out a little bit more about our sector. And at the end of this, she's produced some materials, done some research. We thought our members would be really interested to know the perceptions of young people to careers in engineering and what we can learn from her experience. So let's start off with asking you to tell us a little bit, what did you know? Did you know anything about refrigeration before you started coming to spend a few days working here?
No, not really. I really thought that refrigeration was really just keeping food and drink cold. Having the week of work experience, I understand that there's much more of a deeper understanding of refrigeration.
So it's that kind of science and technology behind it, I guess, is something that people don't always realize. Yeah. And you have in your background in terms of the kind of subjects you're doing at school, do you doing a lot of sciences?
Yeah, so like in physics, we do learn about like cooling and states of matter and like the changes from condensation and evaporation. And I really think from doing this work experience, it's really deepened my understanding of it all.
Yeah, we always say that refrigeration is a really good application of the principles of physics. It's a good way for students to get into understanding physics in the real world. So that's why we've been developing quite a few bits and pieces of careers resources. And one of your tasks while you were with us was to look at those resources and talk to your friends a little bit about the sector as well. So can you tell us a little bit about what you did to find out what other people think about refrigeration?
So one of my tasks was to make a survey asking what they think of, like what's their first thought of what they think of refrigeration and engineering, if they see it as a future. And then I also asked them if they would go on the Fantastic Fridges website and see if their views changed about it. And from my results, I see that most of them they obviously had the same thoughts of me, that it was just preserving food and drink. But then the other one was the careers, and most people like didn't really think it was useful doing refrigeration in the future. But then there was so much positive comments about the Fantastic Fridges website saying that it's really changed their views about it and how they want to they might see it as a career now from looking at the Fantastic Fridges website.
And do you think, I mean, not necessarily like from your own view, because you might have a different career in mind. We don't want to persuade you too much to go into refrigeration as a career yourself. But do you think your feeling about careers and the possibility of working in refrigeration for people like yourself, or even the view of the general public about refrigeration, what it's about, has it changed, do you think, from the few days you spent with us?
I do think it's changed. I think I've learned that it's so much like a really big community, like refrigeration and engineering, with all the webinars that I joined, lots of information and how they all combine into one, and how like you can't have something without another thing. Like you all have to work as a group together to do something.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of collaboration in our sector, which is it's true in any area, but I think because our area is quite specialised, and particularly working with the Institute, you do realise how generous people are in sharing their information and wanting to make things happen. So going back to the career side of things, where as a young person who's maybe thinking about their future and what they want to do as they make their selections for qualifications or maybe university in future, where do you normally go to get advice on careers to help you make those decisions?
At school, we have PSHE lessons talking about careers, and then we normally talk about it there. There is like a careers person to help you with your careers if you're stuck.
Mm-hmm. Do they help you to look at the wide range of careers, or are they quite leaving it up to you, telling you where to go to get research and make up your own mind?
Well, they kind of ask what are your skills and what do you find interesting, and from that they work out what job would interest you, because you obviously want a job that will interest you and you don't want a job that you would find boring.
Yeah, so they help you identify what skills are related to different professions and kind of give you a bit of a career path, if you like,
Yeah.
for that. And do you think also that, so that's from school, do you think your parents are likely to have a big influence on your career choices?
Well, my parents, they're happy with whatever I do. They're proud of me, whatever.
Right, so they're really leaving it up to you to get on with it and make
Yeah.
your own choices. That's
But of
excellent.
course, like if I ask for something, they'll help me.
But often people say, that young people are going to be really influenced by their parents who are going to say, oh, you should do this or you should do that. That's going to give you a good financial return if somebody maybe wanted to do something which is not seen to be as a long-term career. But from your point of view, you sound as though you're really doing your own research and trying to find out yourself.
Yeah.
And what about the media? Are you influenced by what the media images are and the kind of things that you hear around friends talking and stuff like that?
Well, social media is really big. I think it influences you and it wants you to do stuff. I think it like over exaggerates some jobs when it's not needed.
So it just becomes like a bit of a trend, do you think, that everyone says, oh, that looks trendy.
Yeah. And then like it dies down and then what have you done with your life?
It's too flash in the pan. It doesn't have a
Yeah.
long term. You really need to have to do the
Yeah.
research and get the underpinning
Yeah.
influence. And what do you think from you, or maybe from the discussions you might be having with your friends, what do you think are the biggest influences? What are you looking for in a job?
Well, obviously the money that pays well.
hmm
But I think also like being in a community and a group that like help you throughout, like the IOR, collaborating with other people, the communication skills.
So it's quite a variety of things. It's not just how glamorous it might appear.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the knowledge you now have about what it's like working in refrigeration, because you've met quite a few members while you've been with us and got a feel for the different types of jobs, it's not all engineering in the field. There's also like researchers and people who want to do teaching roles. There's quite a variety. What would you think? What have you picked up that is positive about working in this sector that you might recommend to other young people?
I think that like people who do work in this sector, they don't hold their information to themselves. They do like really like to share their information, teach new people to reach their full potential. I think for new people, don't be scared to ask questions because everyone's there to help you.
Yeah, and I think because there's very little recognition in the world generally about what refrigeration does, we often hear it said that there's little recognition because it works so well. It's its own worst enemy because it just works in the background and no one has to worry. You don't worry that your food might not be safe because it's been kept cold at the supermarket.
Yeah.
You don't worry that you don't have any freeze-dried coffee. It just turns up. You don't think about the person who is running those processes and making them work smoothly. So as long as everything's works smoothly, there's not much perception of it, but it does have an important impact. And what about the environmental side? I'm not sure whether you picked up much on that because there's also quite a lot of energy and quite a lot of environmental impact from our sector. Did that come across in anything you saw?
On the IOR website, there was a lot about global warming and net zero. That was a very interesting read.
Do you do a lot about that at school?
We do a lot about that, especially in physics.
Right. So you're looking at how global warming works and climate change and things like that. And do they mention global warming gases as part of that work? Yeah, carbon dioxide and stuff like that.
Dioxide, yeah, greenhouse gases.
Yeah. And so you hadn't made the connection between that and refrigeration? Okay, because the refrigerants are very powerful. Some refrigerants are powerful global warming gases. So we often, we try to, in some of the careers materials and discussions we're having, we're talking to people about the potential for working in a sector where they can reduce emissions and help people to achieve net zero targets and stuff. So that's an area of work that we probably didn't cover this time in too much. I noticed you did a couple of presentations for us, which are really interesting, of the research that you did with your fellow students about their perceptions, helping us to promote some of our careers materials. And I was taken by some of the comments that you made in there. I think the first one was there's an emergency need for engineers.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about that?
I think that when I was doing my research for the survey and like loads of people saying they don't see it as a career, I did further research and I found out that by 2030 there'll be a shortfall of 1 million engineers.
Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, and I just think that we need much more promoting and how important engineering and refrigeration is for the future. I don't think people see it, but it really is.
It's so diverse as well, so it's hard to get the message across. But I know there are a lot of concerns. And I saw a BBC survey recently that said, and I think engineering or becoming an engineer was only second to becoming a doctor in terms of an aspiration. So there's some positive work being done in the background. We just need people through the door, people who want, like you, who potentially might want to be interested in engineering. And the other thing that I saw in what you did was the wording, which again I thought was really insightful, something along the lines of people should aspire to work in refrigeration. I thought that was a nice term.
Yeah.
It's nice to think of refrigeration as an aspirational career. I mean, would you agree with that? That's something that people can really get a lot out of if they try.
I think like if you do try for refrigeration, then I think like it'd be really a good career. Although like it is just working smoothly, but that means you're doing your job well. If it's working smoothly, you're doing your job well. You can be proud of that. It's just like a really good career to be part of.
Right, thank you for that. That's really encouraging to know that we've helped you to realise what we're here to do, which is to help promote refrigeration for the public good and to raise that profile. So are there any other takeaways from your week that you want to just share with anybody who might be listening?
I also think that from my survey, I think women in refrigeration and engineering are very underrepresented. And I think that really needs to be promoted more, because I think most women just think that engineering or refrigeration is just like a man's job, when it really, really isn't. And I think from my survey, because I got the percentage, and most people who said they don't see it as a career were women.
It's a shame. We know so many great female engineers within the IOR and within the industry, and they're making a real impact. It's still a lot of work to be done, right, in promoting. I always think the Institute, the refrigeration is for everybody. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter male or female or what their background is. You know, there's so many opportunities. All we need is people who are committed and interested.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, really taking a lot away from you. So I think you've probably given us more than we've given you in terms of work experience. It's really great that you're prepared to talk to us and to share information about your colleagues and the research you've done. And if anyone wants to find out more about what our work experience person's been doing for us, we go onto our website, and in areas like our LinkedIn, we've got a couple of the videos that she created for us. So we can follow up that way. So thanks very much again.
No problem.
All success in your career. I'm sure you will have a great career path, and we look forward to hopefully in the future seeing how you get on. So thanks again. And thanks for listening. Bye, everyone. So this was the tip of the iceberg from the Institute of Refrigeration, and I'm Miriam Rodway. We hope you're enjoying our podcasts. Please like and share and follow the podcast, and join us on the next edition. Thank you.